Hi, everybody. I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, episode 4, I think.
I think it's 4.
Are we counting the state of the podcast? We're not counting that one, I don't think.
Nah, okay. Does that mean that we're at 3 right now?
Oh, okay. I guess because they're gonna line it up on iTunes anyway by number of posts, so we'll just call this 4 anyway.
Okay. I
just
don't
not
think
to
the numbering
confuse
matters
people.
too much.
People are gonna look at those numbers and say, "Wait, am I on the wrong one? Oh man, they posted the wrong episode."
Just listen in order on iTunes and you'll be fine.
Okay.
That'll work.
How is it going, everybody? This is, of course, as I mentioned, the SwitchCast, a podcast dedicated solely to the not yet released Nintendo home/portable console, the Switch. And we have a jam-packed episode for you this week. We have been accumulating a lot of news, and as our current strategy for approaching this, we wait for a ton of it to build up and then just throw it all at you in one big episode to just kind of recount it all.
Yeah, I think it's a good strategy for us to approach this, especially considering we don't have the Switch out quite yet anyway.
Yes, right. So, but it's been building up. It doesn't seem like much. Like, it'll be pretty quiet, and we just kind of talk about what we know, and then one day, like, 5 big things drop, like yesterday.
And it's something that we just have to talk about. It's good that we have this platform for it.
Yes, right. Let me just start the show off with a little bit of a show meta. We have launched, as we mentioned, the chat room is available for anyone who wants to come on in Discord and chat with us, and there'll be a link to that in the show notes, and we have it on our profile pages. But JV mentioned, and it's probably a wise idea, we are generally being a G-rated show with the way we talk here, but that does not necessarily carry over to the chat, so we wanted to mention that to anyone who comes over there, because we are not going to be able to censor or control what everyone says. We're generally a pretty good group, but every so often, someone might say something that might offend or take a little bit, maybe say something that you don't want your 7-year-old to see, so we just thought that was a fair disclaimer to throw out there before you come on there. Though we're a good group. It's not like anyone really does that. We're probably a tamer, more level-headed group than most communities, I'd say.
Yeah, so far I think we've been pretty open and friendly to each other. Nothing trolly or anything lewd.
Right. We've been pretty cool.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of language here and there sprinkled every so often, but we're not censoring any one of our chat people. So
yeah, so we just wanted to mention that. But still, welcome to come anyone and join in the fun there. Next on the docket, we have a current survey running in preparation for our future episode. We might be doing an episode related to this soon. Teaser. But I'm currently running a survey for what are your top 5 third-party games that you want to see on the Switch. This does not necessarily mean it has to be games that have been announced or even games that you think have a shot at coming onto the Switch. Literally, I want you to just list on this survey the 5, up to 5, 1 to, any number of them, games that you would just squee over coming to the Switch.
Right, and we'll provide you the link to this survey on the show notes, in the chat room, and on the Facebook, so we'll make sure it's available for you guys to take.
But that's going to help us out, because we want to hear that, because I'm actually going to we're going to do a top 5 of our own for the next episode. So JV's going to list his top 5, I'm going to have mine, and we're going to have possibly 1 or more guests.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have more guests on in the future, and some of them are actually pretty decently big named.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Some of them I've heard of, some of them I hadn't heard of, but then I clicked on their link. I'm like, yikes, you are a person.
You are a person more well known than us.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much almost anybody, but yes.
Yeah.
Though that's slightly changing.
Yeah, kind of, but we're definitely excited for the guests that we have in the future.
Yes.
And look forward to when they appear.
Yes, so, and if you rate them, the one you rate highest will be counted like greater towards basically the people's poll. And I'm going to have a top 5 people's choice of what their third-party games that they're looking forward to. So definitely rank them as you would want to see them.
We also have the Switch sticks going on.
That's right. That's still
going on. Yeah, we announced it in the last episode, and it's still running. So go ahead and send us your iTunes reviews, your retweets, and your Facebook shares, and keep it going.
Yep, and just a reminder that the prize is a $25 Amazon gift card. You can use it for anything you want, but we're nominally saying it's for the Switch or for your games, just to use it towards whatever. And a lot of people have been mentioning how they're saving their pennies up to, in time for the Switch. So this would be a nice little cool chunk of change towards that. And yeah, all you got to do is retweet our contest tweet and follow us on Twitter, or share our contest post on Facebook and, be part of our Facebook group. And
right,
yes,
exactly.
And iTunes reviews also count as an entry.
Those are a big deal.
Yes. All right, so thank you everyone who's been entering. Let's dive into our roundup of the news, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay. So starting off here. So there was a couple of stores that had listed, actually, the Switch price. I guess they've been correcting, and we saw a price of $250 to $300, and then it became a big deal, and people were posting it, and then they took down the prices, right?
Yeah, that's actually it's very interesting that they did that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like maybe Nintendo or someone was like, oh, you weren't supposed to show off the price yet. Like, don't say that price, especially when people can pre-order them, and they're going to be angry if maybe it changes, or Nintendo wants to be the one to reveal the price. But there were certain sites, and I thought this was interesting, that one of those UK tech sites that you could order stuff, they were actually doing a price guarantee on the Switch.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so they were saying it was something like 249 pounds and 38 cents or whatever, and they would say, yeah, if you could basically reserve it and you would be locked in at that price. Which
is really good. The fact that the price is hovering around $250 to $300 is insane to me. I think that's the price range that I would really want the Switch to be in.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that they're sticking with that
right.
price range.
And I do hope that only reason I wouldn't pre-order just the console at this point is because I'm definitely going to get whatever has a bundle in it. So I'm definitely getting whatever bundled game edition. So until I see that for pre-order, I'm going to hold off on making any of these deals, no matter how good the price lock might sound.
That's fair. In my case, I think I would rather pre-order whatever is available at first, because they might be pretty scarce from release.
Yes.
And we're not sure if a bundle is going to come out. So in my opinion, I think I would hop into a pre-order as quickly as possible.
Fair enough. These are all still in Europe, so it's not like something I could have acted on anyway.
Yeah. Over here in North America, we can't really do much yet.
Right. The next big scandal, I don't know, whatever, was we had this maybe I'd say about 12 hours or a full day in which this, I was not familiar with this streamer, Etika.
Or Etika or something like that?
He's a big streamer, and he does things like this from time to time, but he made a video or on a stream where he showed off what looked to be a Switch, and he just kind of ran around screaming and making a big deal about it, and maybe a day or two later, it was shown that it was a fake. It was just a really well-done recreation of it based on just videos, and people 3D printed all the parts and put it together.
Yeah.
And they even made a video on how they made this fake Switch, which was really fascinating.
Honestly, I was actually really impressed with the build quality of the fake Switch.
Yes.
It looks really solid, and the components and pieces of it looked legitimate. I
was very impressed with that. What I was not impressed with was how
it was presented.
How, you had a great golden ticket to pull a great prank, and all you did, sir, was run around screaming, "Oh, look what I got! I got the Switch!" And
I'm gonna get sued. Sued. Check it out. I agree with you there. I really didn't like the video. I'm not really a fan of these types of publicity stunts because
Yeah.
That guy, Etika, knew that it was a fake Switch. He played it off as if it was real to get attention, and it got picked up everywhere.
Right. And it worked. I can't blame him for doing what he did and getting all the attention of the internet for about a day or two. It might have been a week before it was confirmed, but like, I don't know. A lot of people, like, I knew it was probably a fake because he didn't like turn on a game with it or anything. You know, he just kind of showed the controller and slid it around a little bit.
Yeah, and he just flashed it, and it was really silly how it was done.
Like, you could really, like, if you could have done a cool prank and then, like, or just left it in the background casually and let the people, like, pick up on it, and then you'd be like, oh, no, and then, like, hide it and pretend you didn't want people to see it, and just let the mysteriousness of it go on.
I agree with you there. There were so many different ways to execute that. But in general, I'm not really a big fan of these fakes. It feels like, a cheap publicity stunt just to get your 15 minutes of extra fame. It doesn't feel like real content to me. The actual how to build your own 3D model Switch felt more substantial, and I like that a lot better.
But I think it's time we start talking about some actual substantial things
absolutely.
we've learned here.
Speaking about the tech of the Switch, there's rumblings about the Switch dock actually boosting the power of the Switch.
Yes.
Kind of like what I said. But, not quite the way we expected.
This is such a Nintendo thing
to do.
It is. It's like their way of engineering and thinking.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it already, apparently there's reports that the Switch dock increases the performance of the Switch tablet by triggering a sort of overclocking mechanism within the Switch itself.
Yes.
So the tablet, once it detects that it's in the dock, then it'll overclock itself, and within the dock, separate from the tablet, there will be fans that cool it while it's overclocking.
Yeah, so that's all it's really doing is flipping a switch basically inside the Switch, triggering something in the Switch, saying work harder, and I will just basically cool you down that little extra more you need since you're overclocking yourself.
Right, and I think that is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a great way to do it. It's not expensive. Like a built-in fan and that detection system, not expensive to mass-produce the dock separately. But it is a clever way to pump out more power while it's docked and connected to the TV.
Yeah. And
it's great.
And this has some other implications as well. Now, since the dock is just this fairly cheap piece of plastic with just the fan, that's like probably the most high-tech thing, and the connector, it's easy. It's exactly what we said. It sounds like the story that we are referring to corroborates what we said, that this will be a cheap thing that will likely be sold separately so that you can set up docks at multiple televisions and bring it to other things. So it's a nice, simple accessory that you can, get multiple of and make your life even more convenient and just dock it wherever you want. You could have one at work. You could have one at home, put one in your summer house, anywhere that you want to. Yeah. Well, it just makes your life that much easier for making it cheap because it doesn't need to have extra RAM for it to be a 1080p. Oh yeah. And that's how it's going to upscale to the 1080p, on the TV.
Honestly, I think it's a brilliant and elegant solution for this. The biggest issue with overclocking hardware like this is, the cooling solution. There's not really ways to cool an overclocked iPad or an overclocked tablet, but this dock is built to do it, and it's great.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. We also, a little bit of hardware possibility. Now, this is just something based on something that a GameStop CEO mentioned, and people are interpreting it to mean something along the lines that motion controls will be part of the Switch controls. I just part of me felt like that's almost a given that there. Maybe because I just think of how Nintendo controllers
does things.
Yeah,
they're pretty big fans of motion controls. It's even in the 3DS.
Yeah, but so CEO Paul Raines said, a movement-related game is more fun for kids, Taking those accessories off, the detachable Joy-Con pads, you can really do a lot of interesting things with that in gameplay. Now, he's talking about motion related games in an interview about the Switch, and it's not like someone like directly asked him, or he directly said yes, it will have motion controls, but it just kind of sounds like he knows something about it, and he just kind of like dropped that in an interview.
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily confirmation.
No, definitely not
controls.
confirmation. No, yeah.
He's throwing the idea out there, and in my opinion, I'm not really, I don't really care for motion controls that much. I kind of wish Nintendo would distance themselves from motion controls.
Well, it sounds like if you're going to have a game, like the confirmation of motion controls to me was the fact that Just Dance is coming out on the Switch.
Right. And that's a pretty compelling reason to include or to verify that there's motion controls.
Right, because that's how that game works on any system. So, here's my other suspicion. I think the way they're going to do motion controls is with those the infrared. Like basically, I said there was another postulation they would have the
kind of like the sensor bar for the Wii.
Kind of like that, but it's going to have the pointers, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, now again, you're the tech guy. You can tell me, could that be used similar to like my mouse, to detect motion and detect?
Not really.
No, okay.
It's a little difficult. I don't think it's going to be something that they would invest so much technology on, especially considering how much they're distancing themselves from motion controls on the Wii U already.
Okay, but like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to have those controls. How it does it is still up in the air.
My general suspicion is that it's going to be gyroscopic controls, kind of like in the 3DS, and I think that's probably going to be the extent of it.
Okay, fair enough.
In my opinion.
And that'll be our next. We keep track of our next bets.
We're starting to have a thing here.
Yeah, this is the fun thing. We have to have like a speculation showdown.
Yeah, we should have a list of all the things we speculated and see who scored the best in accuracy.
I'm already keeping that list, but I'm only going to show it to you when I'm winning.
Oh my gosh, you would.
Duh.
I wonder though, is motion controls part of the interesting potential thing that the Level 5 developers mentioned previously?
I don't think that was... So yeah, everybody is making some little comment in every interview. Atlas says there's it has this interesting potential. Ubisoft says it has this special power of uniting people, and Levels 5 was talking about how they want to understand how to harness its unique abilities. So everyone's saying something to this effect that makes me really suspect there is some other really twist or a gimmick to the Switch that we still haven't been shown yet. There's some really big aspect of this, of how it's going to affect gameplay, and I can't postulate what it is yet. I'm just expecting one more twist just based on all these little comments all these developers are saying.
All right, so you want to throw another prediction showdown here?
I mean, if you have something that could challenge my very specific claim that there's something.
I feel like I don't think there's going to be any additional feature that they're necessarily talking about. It might just be the portability, the being able to switch from a console to a handheld.
I mean,
I believe that might be what they're talking about.
That's certainly possible. I'm not so convinced of this that I'm I'm certain. I'm just reading into the way they're talking about this that I don't know. I feel like they might mean there's something else, and obviously there's definitely going to be something that we haven't learned yet revealed at that. So you're taking a 100% losing bet. You're saying Nintendo won't have another big thing to reveal about the system at the January event. Are you really going to take that bet?
I don't know. Well,
because I can win by anything. I could just say oh yeah, they were probably talking about that laser pointer on it. Yeah, they were all talking about the fact that it.
Okay, so this one's not hard set, but I do think maybe the most interesting potential they're talking about is some sort of detection system, between being on a console and being handheld.
That's perfectly reasonable. I cannot argue that. That is a perfectly reasonable possibility.
Yep.
So, so we had bunch just yesterday, and we're still catching up with a bunch of little reveals. One of them we're going to cover here because the others all involve new and upcoming games. So one of the reveals from yesterday, though, was the new Smash characters possibly being added in the upcoming Smash Brothers for Switch. Now, people are a little bit iffy on this source, though. I will say because it's from Liam Robertson, who I guess he hasn't had a great track record in the past of some things, and some people said like, oh, he's the one who claimed that Shovel Knight would be coming to Smash Brothers, and he hasn't arrived. Of course, if this new character is Shovel Knight, he would, he'd basically be retracting his loss from that prediction, and he'd be gaining this prediction as well. So
right. He would essentially be making up for that mistake earlier.
Right. He would go from a 0 to 1 to a 2 for 0. Batting average.
Yeah. So I can't really speak to the credibility of this rumor, but I can kind of see Shovel Knight being included in the Smash Switch. Mm-hmm. But I feel like a character like the Inkling would probably be more likely.
When I saw that one suggested by someone on I keep calling it the forums, and I'm going to do that. I'm just going to call it the forums, our Facebook group, but it's a disservice to what it is.
Right, yeah, exactly.
When someone said that on the Facebook group, it really did strike a chord, and it felt like the perfect choice. Like, they just have a great set of abilities that would really be interesting in that gameplay. You could have boy, girl as the different, color, options, kind of like villager boy, villager girl.
Right. You can turn into a kid, you can turn into a squid, and you can switch from a kid to a squid.
Yeah, you can cover parts of the territory with your ink, and that would be a great, and they could go into the platforms. Like, that would be almost like their dodge. Their dodge could be going underground and totally avoiding you.
Yeah, and I think they already have Mii costumes for Splatoon, so why not include a full-fledged Inkling character? I think it makes sense.
But the big thing that happened last week was the video game awards that everyone watched just to see the Zelda trailer.
Yeah, pretty much. And I can say the trailers were awesome and probably worth sticking around to see. Kind of a little disappointed that it wasn't shown on the Switch. It was shown on the Wii U, but, what do you expect?
Right, exactly. They're not going to... you're getting the gameplay video that is relevant to you. It wasn't on the Switch. Obviously, we're not going to see any of that until January. They're holding that, and, just enjoy what you can get here, people.
Yeah, pretty much. But we definitely know that Zelda is not going to make day one of the Switch. That's something I believe is relatively confirmed at this point.
Yeah, it seems like all the reports are that they've been struggling to localize it. That it's just something that's not going to get done in time for the release. There's been a couple of reports that said it might still make it, but majority of reports right now are that it's probably shooting for within the first 6 months. In fact, Target even had a date listed for it as June 13th on their website.
Yeah, which is oddly specific.
And that would just be in the ballpark of what the reports were saying. That it would
right, exactly. Now, I believe we did host a poll regarding this delay and whether it would actually affect anyone's purchase, day one purchase of the Switch.
Yes.
And the majority seemed like they didn't really care and that they would get the Switch regardless of whether Zelda is out on launch day.
Yeah, people were a little belly achy, but nobody's people, and some people even they like to make the claim like, oh, that's it. Nintendo's totally screwing up the Switch release with this. You can only make the claim that either Nintendo doesn't have enough Switches to sell everyone, or they needed the Zelda release on day one.
Yeah.
If the Switch sells out, it means they did not need Zelda day one. In fact, maybe they wanted to save it when the second shipment comes in that they now may have a little harder time selling out on.
Yeah, I think that it could definitely be a timing situation. People are excited to buy the Switch, so they'll buy it on its own. And later on, when they need another sales bump, they release Zelda.
Perfect, personally. And I want to play Zelda as soon as possible. The reason I'm not super annoyed at this is the fact that probably one of my day one purchases is going to be Skyrim, which is still looking like a day one release. And that's going to fill well over 6 months of gameplay for me. So I'm going to want to focus on a game like that. I cannot juggle Skyrim and Breath of the Wild at the same time.
Right. And, I don't think it would be wise for them to compete against each other either way.
It's true.
So
they are definitely overlapping interest games.
Yeah, at this point, especially considering how much this new Zelda is being inspired by open world games like Skyrim.
Right.
So
right. And
so yeah, they probably don't want to compete.
And in fact, after watching the trailers and spending some time like studying them the last couple of days, I can see a lot more of these similarities and its differences still, but it's just I don't know, I guess I appreciate more where it's coming from and where it's what it's been inspired by Skyrim in certain ways. I feel that influence is definitely strong in there.
Yeah, I have to say, watching especially the Life in the Ruins trailer, I'm impressed at how gorgeous this game is.
It is such a nice, like, to keep with the Skyrim comparison, and Skyrim is beautiful in its own way. It's like beautiful in a realistic, medieval but very gritty, kind of world, but gritty but still beautiful. Like when you see a dragon fly by, like, it's breathtaking and it's imposing in its own way. But Zelda feels like, I mean, maybe a little more animated. It feels like a little more magical and unreal world in that kind of way.
Right. And there is still a level of sparsity in the open worldness that kind of reminds me of Shadow of the Colossus. Have you played that game?
Shadow Colossus, definitely on my top 5 games of all times list.
Of all time, yeah, definitely. It reminds me of that to a degree. It's a vast open world, and there's not so much everywhere everything going on. But when you're on your horse riding through the plains, the whole world and the whole experience is really encompassing and breathtaking. And I think Zelda, the Breath of the Wild, was able to capture that so far. Yeah.
I even saw one of the boss battles. I was watching some gameplay video where it's definitely a Shadow of the Colossus moment where, there's a golem and you have to knock its legs out with, a bomb, and then he climbs up its back to hit the weak point on its head. And it definitely also has some, genetics from there as well.
So, overall, it's a very exciting experience. And to be completely honest with you guys, I'm a tangential fan of Zelda. I'm not the most diehard Zelda fan out there, but this has got me so pumped.
So let's talk about what was in the trailer itself here.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we saw it had the tapestry, and it was showing us basically it looked like a chronicle, maybe a Sheikah. It kind of had a Sheikah symbology, symbolism in it. It starts with, it shows us, I guess, the birth of the world, and then they kind of show us the world itself a little bit, and we see some forests. They cut to a different forest that had some different foliage, and it might have just been, hey, here's a different forest. It might have also been hinting at maybe there's time change and there's
maybe there's seasons. Yeah,
right. Which would be a fitting. Zelda games have had seasons in at least one game, in Oracle of Seasons. That was a huge theme of it, and I could see that totally carrying over into a game like this.
Right, exactly. And, it could also just mean that it's diverse in, the type of forest and areas that you explore. So either way, it's interesting.
They scan around. They show us more of the villages in this trailer than we'd seen in other things. So we actually saw people milling about. Even the vestiges of civilization that were strewn about here still felt lonely. It was here's an outpost in the middle of this very, vast forest, but there was just a stable and 5 people milling about is just someone to run into, a little place to go and maybe take a break while you've been exploring for a long time.
Yeah. And at this point, it definitely feels like they're little vignettes of, civilization and activity, as opposed to something that's bustling all the time, kind of like a GTA 5.
Yeah.
So it definitely captured that slight desolation that Shadow of the Colossus did.
Yeah, and actually what it kind of addresses with that desolation is the idea of restoration. Part of the history they showed us were the rise of the Guardians, those weird octopus monsters with the laser heads that were crawling around in part of it. And they show that, they are behind the destruction of all the civilization. And now it seems like the theory is this is about the restoration of the world. And I'm not sure how much of that you personally partake in, whether you're going to be responsible for the reestablishment of these, villages, or just protecting them and keeping whatever's left of civilization from being wiped out. That's still up in the air, but it's kind of an interesting angle for this game to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the whole game looks incredibly gorgeous.
We also saw there's a lot of little things we saw in here. There were people, just NPCs, engaged in fights out in the wild, like non-scripted battles. It looked like it didn't look like this was like a cutscene. It just looked like if you were walking around in the forest, maybe you'll hear some yeah in the distance, and you'll go and you'll just see some regular people fighting monsters that they're trying to fend for themselves, and you can engage with them that way.
I think that's very interesting.
That's cool. Very living world. I also saw that the scabbard he has on his back, people have analyzed it. It is identical to the Master Sword scabbard in previous games.
Right, and so we don't know the specific lore for this game, but it's something that we'll discover.
Yeah, and we see a flying fortress go by, and a birdman come out of the ground or whatever, maybe a transform. It might have been another character in the game, but there was some bird person who flies up. And that brought a lot of images to my head of Skyward Sword setting. Like it it had a very Loft Wings kind of aesthetic to it.
Who knows how that'll turn out, but it looks like an interesting character, whoever that is.
And speaking of interesting characters, we saw two possibly distinctly different females in the trailer. We see one, we never see a face, we just see one quick scene of a female in kind of adventurous clothing, just walking, holding what might be the Sheikah slate, like the tablet that Link uses. We can't quite see what it is, but she's holding something that looks like it could be that.
Now, people are obviously speculating whether this is, Zelda herself or female Link. There have been word of that.
Yes.
But we don't know at this point.
Right. We have heard, I believe there was an interview that one of the developers did confirm that there will not be female Link in this game, though the door is still open that Zelda will be a playable female character. That is possible, if not for even parts of the game, it might be possible. But then we also see another scene where we see again we don't see the face, but a woman's body in more fanciful dress, possibly princess mode Zelda. We don't know. Just so there's at least one female character who takes a major role. My theory is, just based on this, just the way they cut it, I'm just going to spitball that I almost feel like her clothes are similar enough to the bird person that flies off, that one of those two females, at least we saw, might be that bird person? Is that bird person. Like that, they can just take the bird form and fly off.
Oh, that is interesting. Now, it's possible. Looking at the clothes don't necessarily match up one for one.
No.
But, it has a similar color scheme.
That's the thing. It has the color scheme. It just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of feels like it flowed that way to hint that they might be related that way. Again, I'm obviously just spitballing here.
Yeah, but it ultimately it looks rather interesting.
Yes. Did you see the gameplay trailer also, or you didn't get to check that out?
So I did see some of the gameplay trailer. It was a lot of the stuff that they showed at E3.
Okay.
So it's it's more gameplay for people who haven't seen it yet. It showed a lot more of the menu system and the combat, and I think that's stuff that's been covered before. But it's very interesting to start.
Well, some of the stuff I didn't. I guess we never got a chance to talk about is the fact that this game is going to have weapon breaking. Like,
oh yeah,
like you do not just have a weapon that's permanently yours. You will, if you get a javelin, you can throw it, but that's it. That javelin's like gone, and your sword might wear out, and you have to pick up a new one from the next thing you kill. limited arrows, and you have to make sure you restock them.
Now, that's definitely interesting because scarcity ultimately means that you will kind of want to be as conservative as possible.
Yes.
Which means you have to approach encounters a bit more strategically. So, especially in an open world, it seems to become more strategic how you choose to either face certain enemies head on or maybe avoid them entirely.
They definitely tried to play that up in the video. They did show, one of the guys playing, and he just tries to go in the front door, and he gets ambushed by like camouflage monsters, just gets, killed. And then the other one goes and tries to climb up the mountain and, sneak in from the back entrance. And, they definitely showed that those options, it's almost like, any of those games, like you could take the brute force and I'm going to just smash my way in, or do I want to play this as a stealth game? And scarcity is always a great element of survival.
Right, exactly.
And you know what? Survival doesn't also have to be horror. We've always thought of those things as like one genre. It's survival horror. There's not a lot of survival games, just survival without that horror.
Yeah, I think it's a good direction for them to take Zelda, and it feels like a modern take of that formula.
And the only other thing we learned about it this week is that there will be amiibo support.
Yay!
Yes. I'm actually thinking of getting an amiibo, my first ever amiibo. Finally, I think I have to have at least one on deck ready to go to use with my Switch. And I'm going to be taking maybe suggestions from the listeners. I'm definitely leaning towards one of these 30th anniversary Zelda ones. And,
okay. The 8-bit one?
Well, there's a few. There were 4 that were released that are all part of this anniversary collection, and they each have a different use in this game. And apparently, like, there's a random chance that if you use it, you'll get a treasure chest in Breath of the Wild.
Interesting. Okay.
The 8-bit Link one, though, however, will give you a random number of barrels, and you might find rubies inside them. And
okay.
Ocarina of Time Link will give you a random amount of meat. As we know, eating is how you heal in this game, so meat is basically like health in this. Toon Link will give you a random amount of fish. And Wind Waker Zelda will give you a random selection of plants. And I think, I suspect there's going to be an element in this game of like growing and like
and
farming.
Crafting farming to a degree. I think that makes sense. And it's a great way to make the world feel more, alive.
Yeah. And like I said,
plays to the survival aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, rejuvenation of the world is a theme here. So it looks like, planting and growing. It's always, that's hand in hand with that.
And I'm honestly a big sucker for amiibos. I have a full collection of the Smash Bros. Amiibos. So if there's a compelling reason to get these for Breath of the Wild, I am so down. I'm so down.
I'm leaning towards Toon, Link, and or Wind Waker Zelda. I think the Wind Waker Zelda is actually like my favorite of the Zelda designs. I think she's adorable.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm very strongly leaning towards getting her and maybe the Toon Link just to have like this, a decent set, like, a matching pair to keep somewhere.
Yeah. And honestly, even if you're not going to use their amiibo functionality, they're really pretty figures. They're well done.
Yeah. I think I'm going to pick those up this week. I think I have to. Now that I actually have something I might use them with.
Yeah, exactly.
In a year.
And if you ever want to fall back, you can technically probably use them in Smash.
That's true. And the last bit of news, we have the Switch Hands-On event was announced. It's coming January 13th in New York, and we have not yet been invited.
Nope, we're not quite yet.
We're hoping. We're holding out hope for that, though.
Yeah, so if you guys are listening that have the power to invite people, please invite us. I will fly over there to New York.
He will. He flies over here if I tell him I have pizza. So
yes, please. And I'm in Texas, so this is a big deal.
Yeah. Now, he'll do it. This guy's crazy enough. He's dedicated enough to the cause.
Yes. So yeah, please, if you have the power to do so, invite us.
All right, so into the new and upcoming section, and so these are all the new games or accessories that we've learned about. First off, the big one that we got this morning was that there will be GameCube Virtual Console games on the Switch.
Thank goodness. Yes, this is exactly what a lot of us have been waiting for on the Wii U. Yes. GameCube Virtual Console games have been, well clamored for a while.
I guess it's finally reached the point where the power of the system is enough to make it that much more trivial to throw in this generation of games.
I guess it's triviality, because I would have expected the GameCube to be able to handle, or the Wii U to be able to handle GameCube Virtual Console games. But they're finally it seems like they're finally doing it for the Switch. And I believe they're going to start with Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, and Smash Bros. Melee?
Now, I've heard some people make some interesting comments about Melee because they're afraid that since Melee has such a die-hard following, that is the only Smash that those people will play, and it would possibly deter people from playing the Switch-specific Smash Brothers game.
Yeah. There's it's definitely there's a diehard Melee fan base out there, and I do respect their dedication to that very old game. But it's held up for a long time.
It's also fair to mention, though, it is not confirmed when these will release. These are just basically the 3 that have been prepared to go. Nintendo will still have to decide when to release, and we all know that they do not like to just throw all their best stuff day one availability to people. We might get Mario Sunshine day one, Luigi's Mansion 2018. Who knows?
Yeah, and maybe, Melee would be somewhere off in the distance, but
I would suspect they'd at least delay it a little bit so not to compete with the new one when it comes out, unless, and this goes back to another question someone sent me, they were asking if we would suspect the Virtual Console games to have online multiplayer functionality like that.
Maybe. It's possible.
I mean,
I don't expect it.
I don't.
But knowing Nintendo, they might not want to invest additional resources to develop on an old game.
Right. I doubt it.
Doing a Melee HD.
Yeah, I doubt it heavily. It'll probably have only the local multiplayer functionality, which would be probably enough for some people. But beyond that, I doubt they will have online multiplayer for any of their Virtual Console games like that.
Honestly, Melee might be really exciting for people because it's growing increasingly difficult to find GameCubes, TVs that would accommodate a GameCube.
Yeah. Since we're talking about this, though, about a dozen people asked us what we would want to see brought from the GameCube Virtual Console. Were there any real standout titles for you that you would love to see on there?
I remember Baten Kaitos or Kaitos.
Oh, Baten Kaitos. Yes.
Kaitos, yeah. That was one of the games that I absolutely loved and hoped that there was a sequel for, and it never came.
So many people mentioned that one and I was surprised because I thought that was I didn't know how popular that game was remembered amongst people because I thought it was a great system. It was that card game battling system.
Oh, absolutely. That's what, enamored me to it. The fact that it was a card game, but not just a card game.
Right. Probably one of my fondest GameCube memories would be, Crystal Chronicles.
Of course.
Oh my God. Crystal Chronicles, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles was the defining local multiplayer game of my GameCube life. And it was the fondest month of gaming, probably. Every day I had a great party of 4 back when I lived in an apartment with a roommate who played and 2 people who played downstairs. And every day we all met and we played about 3 hours of it, and we beat the entire game beginning to end as a 4-player party. That I would give anything to relive that.
Yeah, and there were DS games that came out, but it wasn't quite the same.
No,
it was never quite the same after that.
No, nothing quite captured that sense of exploring and just the pure teamwork involved with it. One of my fondest gaming memories.
Yeah, well, we don't know what games are going to come out on the Virtual Console. We'll see.
But you know what? The fact that Smash Melee is coming out on it, and that's a 4-player, obviously you want to play it up to 4 players. If it supports all that, if you can get the 2 Switches and play it 4-player, I hold out hope that Crystal Chronicles would work and have 4-player support.
Good luck with that. We'll see.
Hey, if they make it, I will get the people to play it. That's the only thing. They have to. I doubt
Okay.
it. I doubt it as well. But I can dream. All right, dreams are welcome here. I tell people that all the time on Twitter. Dreams are welcome here.
We are essentially fueling this podcast on dreams. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it up.
Okay. We got
Now moving on. Yeah.
We got a vague EA just basically announced that they'll be putting one of their bigger games on the Switch and really didn't specify anything else. So we really don't have much to go on there.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's something awesome like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, but I would not be surprised if it's something mediocre like Madden or FIFA.
So no, Mass Effect, only the first game was only on Xbox, right?
Right. And then they released 2 on Xbox and PS3, and then they released the trilogy, which was great.
Oh, so wait, you could buy the trilogy and still play the first one.
Yes, and along with the second one and the third one, but it took a while for it to come out.
Okay, because I remember when I first tried to get into that series, I just couldn't play the first one only on PlayStation. So
yeah,
okay.
On the PS3, they released Mass Effect 2, and you had some sort of survey for what happened in Mass Effect 1, but yeah, no, you couldn't play it for a while.
I would play I would definitely want to get into Mass Effect because that's the reason I didn't get into it. It's like, well, I can't play 1. I don't want to start at 2, and I forgot about it forever. I would get into it if I could start the trilogy from the beginning.
Right, and yeah, they have the trilogy out on PS3 now. Mm-hmm. I would honestly be fine if they released an HD version of the original trilogy, but it would be incredible if Mass Effect Andromeda comes out on the Switch.
Right. Yeah.
Spoilers for next week. This is going to be one of my top 5 third-party games.
Well, there we go. We also got a few more confirmation. Well, not confirmation, but a few more reports that Mario and Skyrim, well, the new Super Mario Brothers game and Skyrim will likely be the launch titles with the Switch. Well, I say they will be some of the launch titles with the Switch.
Right.
And there's likely to be a Splatoon bundle as one of the options.
I think that's a really solid start already.
Yeah. I always want, and in one of the other polls we said, like, how many games are people going to buy? My general strategy is I always want to have 2 titles when a system launches. I want one very deep solo game, Skyrim, and then I just want something that's a great multiplayer party fun fest.
Like a great way to show off the new console to people.
And that will be Splatoon. So I'm definitely going to be getting Splatoon and probably Skyrim unless another really great in-depth RPG or adventure type game comes up. And everyone's like, what? You're not going to get Mario? And, Mario's great, but it's just not... It's not my highest priority. Splatoon and Skyrim.
It might be something... Yeah, it might be something you'd gamefly or rent.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm probably on the same boat, but I might also be the type that gets super excited and buys everything.
Yeah, are you the guy that still has like games in like their cellophane wrappers for like a year after?
No comment. But yes.
Okay.
I have 3 right now.
We also got a report that From Software is considering bringing the Dark Souls trilogy re-release to the Switch, in addition to PlayStation and Xbox consoles.
Yeah, that's a big deal to a lot of people.
There's so many people I know that like Dark Souls is the only game they talk about. I mean, like every conversation comes back to Dark Souls sooner or later. Yeah,
it is a life-consuming game. Once a game beats you down that hard, I think you get Stockholm syndrome after a while.
And I'm just so fascinated. It's a game I would play if it was on anything. I haven't been a console gamer forever, but I'm so... Welcome
to the present, Casey.
I am a portable gamer, all right? That is Hey, mobile games, buddy. Don't you dare... How can you possibly say, welcome to the present, when I'm like the mobile gamer guy?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But still, yeah, Dark Souls is a very, very consuming game. It's a game that you really commit a lot of yourself to. So a portable Dark Souls would really service that community really well.
And the report comes after basically the leak that they've tested it that the game runs to a satisfactory level of performance on the Switch, they're going to wait to see what the Switch sales numbers are before they commit to producing the games.
So you guys know what that means, right? If you like Dark Souls, you should get the Switch.
Well, if you like Dark Souls, you've probably already played it enough that you don't need it on the Switch, I'm assuming? Is that a fair argument? I don't know.
Maybe if you like it on the go.
Okay, that's fine.
If you want it to consume your life even further while you're at work or in the groceries or at the mall, Switch, guys.
Yeah. Also sounds like it'll come with all the DLC that's been released preloaded on there as well.
Yeah, exactly. So go for it.
All right. Ubisoft teased their alleged Mario/Raving Rabbids crossover game.
So random to me, I think.
Yeah, they made someone else leaked that was a possibility before, and then in their newest anniversary video for the company, they showed just an end glass on someone's shelf these Mario and Luigi dolls that had the Rabbids ears on them, like one of their suits. So it was kind of a nod to that, and it's enough for some people to say, this is a real thing. They're crossing over.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably just a minigame compilation, but it could be fun.
Oh, really? That's what you would think it would be?
Most of the Rabbids games were minigame compilations. At the start. So that's probably going to be another one with the Mario.
I guess it can go a lot of different ways with them. Like it could be a platformer where the Rabbids suit would be like a thing, and maybe they tag off with the Rabbids themselves for like a mini game in between, like platforming even. I could see it.
Yeah, it could be platforming. It could be just a full-on...
Could just be a party game. Comp. Could be like, Mario...
That's probably the most likely.
Mario plus Sonic. What do we do? Olympics. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, it's just like, they could do whatever the heck they want.
We'll see.
One of the games that actually came out of nowhere for me, and I was really surprised and happy to see, is Stardew Valley. It's coming to Switch at the expense of they are canceling it for the Wii U.
I'm sorry, Wii U guys. I think some Wii U diehards were disappointed at this news.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's definitely rightfully so. It's especially though understandable. I mean, I don't know how many people work on it now, but this game, you gotta remember, this is one of those like one-man job games. One dude made this. I think maybe his wife helped with like part of it, but he did the composition, he did the design, the programming. This is just like a Cave Story, one of those masterworks by just some dude who's super dedicated. I think he might have gotten some help since its success as he now updates it, and he's still dedicated to like bringing new content and adding new features. But this is the ultimate farming sim game. Well, not like farming sim, like Harvest Moon, let's say.
Yeah, and I'm actually really excited to play this game. I haven't picked it up yet. I know it's readily available now, but I feel like the Switch would be a good platform for me to hop in.
It covers a lot of bases. It fills that like Animal Crossing style, I want to check in and socialize with the people in the town kind of thing. Do a little farming. It fills that I'm going to go on adventure and hunt, I want to level up and hunt some stuff. I believe, at least on the PC version, the Steam one, multiple people can also live in the same farm and help each other, like take turns interacting with the village. I wonder if that functionality will also be available on the Switch version, if multiple people can pick up the same game and then contribute to the town.
It seems like one of those very encompassing games as well.
It's super deep. All the people at work who play it, I just have to listen to their stories of like, oh my god, I'm trying to go out with like Sheila and the barn dances next week, and she's still not accepting. Like I give her all these gifts, but she still won't go to me. She's totally ignoring me. And
I haven't played a Harvest Moon game in a long time, and I can get wrapped up and engrossed in those games like crazy.
Totally.
Yeah, so, Stardew Switch.
For me personally, the only thing that holds it off is that I'm a little more fanciful towards the Rune Factory type setting. Yeah. A little more like fantasy going on, a little more anime-ish style in this kind of game.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, the problem is, there hasn't been a new Rune Factory in a while.
Exactly. And if there's no Animal Crossing announced or coming to the Switch, this is going to be the default best, farm life game available.
Yeah.
I doubt there's many other games that could live up to this in that
right.
genre.
And it's an indie game, so it's nice to support quality indie developers.
Absolutely. And finally, we get to see a few of the accessories that are going to be made for the Switch. GameStop posted a few of them on their store.
Right. It honestly looks like a standard 3DS case, but for the Switch.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
It has a little...
it's one of those 3DS carrying cases where you slip the console into the little rubber holders. You zip it up, and you can have slots for the cartridges. Seems pretty standard to me at this point.
Yeah, the big thing people kind of took from this is that it confirms a little bit more the USB-C charging cables that we talked about a couple episodes back.
Right.
As the style of charger, and it's a very long wire. It looks like you'll be able to charge it and not have to stay, a foot away from your outlet.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a given that it's going to use USB-C. A lot of different independent stories have talked about it using USB-C, so I feel like it's dead set at this point.
Yeah, and my community service announcement for this, since this has been shown, is that if you were one of those people who are budgeting for your Switch, do account for this case and accessories in your budget if you plan on ever taking it out of the house, because this thing does not have like a 3DS clamshell design. It needs something to protect that screen, and I don't use and I don't trust those plastic films that you put over. Are you going to do that? Are you going to put like a plastic film over your screen?
Generally, whenever I go for tablet screen protectors, I try to stick with tempered glass ones.
Okay, so, how do those work? Is that like a actual like a sheath kind of? What does that mean?
No, it's an adhesive that you stick to the front of your screen, and they've been really reliable for me.
Okay, I don't like any of that stuff because I feel like I know I'm looking through extra material. It's just slightly less crisp an image usually.
Right, that's why I specifically get the tempered glass ones.
So you're saying that's a little clearer.
Yeah, it makes it feel like, it's just an added layer, but it's part of, the phone or tablet itself. Okay. It doesn't look like there's any warping or blurriness.
Well, with my Vita and my iPhone 6 Plus, I have done away with putting films on them, and I've just relied on my case. I keep them. They both have closable cases on them that cover the screen when not in use, and I polish that screen. Like I always keep a lens cloth in there to protect them, and they've been good, and I have not regretted my decision to stay away from the films, but I will look into this tempered glass thing. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I like it because a lot of the tempered glass screens have rounded edges, so, if you slip it into your pocket, it won't catch.
Interesting. All right, so that's all the news we have to catch up on for this episode, but we do have a little bit of a community pulse to touch upon.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The main thing I wanted to go over, we have a little bit of a follow-up email to our esports episode. Daniel Cole, who is a listener who actually participated in the Splatoon Europe esports tournament that Nintendo hosted, and he kind of wanted to give us a little more information and maybe correct us a little bit on how they're actually run, because we might have been under a little bit of a false assumption about how they compete.
Right. It's always really nice to hear details about a esports scene from someone who's involved in the esport itself.
Yes. So Daniel writes, and I'm going to skip some of it. He wrote a very detailed email, but we'll get to the key points. Nintendo's already testing Splatoon as an esport in Europe right now with ESL. Every Sunday, between 60 and 80 teams are battling it out in an online knockout tournament. We are fighting mostly for fame and to be challenged by the best teams out there to build up our own skills. And yes, the winner of the 6 months tournament will win Nintendo Switch sponsored by Nintendo. And we do not play Turf War at all.
Right, which actually makes sense to me. Yeah. The competitive modes in Splatoon do consist of, tower control, Rainmaker, and Splat Zones, which are, capture the flag, point control, etc. And I think it makes sense to me. The modes that the ESL is using for the competitive Splatoon scene, seems to fit in along with, stuff like Overwatch.
All the things I played at my friend's house, I told you I spent those days, maybe he just didn't, my friend never put on those modes. I never even saw those modes. We just played, I guess, Turf Wars forever, and I did not know those other modes existed. Maybe he didn't know they existed, because that's all we played at his house.
Well, the modes were, slowly rolled into the game over time through DLC updates, so you might not have gotten them immediately. Or maybe didn't get into the ranked modes where these modes are cycled out.
Okay. Maybe.
It's possible.
All right. It goes on, the biggest problem as a sport someone else would watch is the lack of spectator mode, as we mentioned. Yeah, and the team speak. He also kind of says that is, again, what we kind of talked about there. So Splatoon has what it takes to be an esport, but it needs a few things done right and a much bigger push from Nintendo. Thank you very much. I love listener feedback like that. And if any of you guys want to give us feedback, you're always more than welcome to email me directly, kc@theswitchcast.com. And, of course, I'm always available on Twitter and Facebook. We'll give those info later as well, though.
Right, exactly. And mad props to Daniel. Thanks for that insight.
Yeah.
We were actually very excited to see how detailed you got with this particular perspective. So thank you.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like what you said, it has a lot more parallels to like the Overwatch competitive scene than I had realized.
Yeah, exactly.
And a few random questions we got here. Nintendo Quebec asked us, do you think they'll port Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD over to the Switch?
Maybe. I think if they ever announce a Wii U virtual console, Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD are guaranteed to be one of those included.
Yeah, I think that's way down the line. I think, again, they if they're going to... I mean, I've heard some people say, and some sources were saying that they've been listening to people's complaints and that they are really going to up their virtual console eShop strategy for the Switch. But just going on what we know of how they've acted in the past, I wouldn't expect to see those for a while.
Now, that actually transitions well into another comment we got from Core HDD. Will Nintendo remake all the past Wii U games for the Nintendo Switch?
All past Wii U games?
I doubt it would be all of them.
That's a big question.
But, if they really like their backwards compatibility, it's hard to say. I think if they ever do some sort of backwards compatibility with Wii U, it would be allowing Wii U downloaded games to play on the Switch.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they would do full-on remakes.
At this point, it doesn't make sense to invest that much into remakes of a system that they just recently stopped producing, and there's still a lot of people who are probably playing those games. You need to give it some breathing room before the demand for those games reemerges.
Right. And I think, if anything, they might just allow eShop Wii U downloaded games to be downloadable and playable on the Switch. That's probably the extent that they'll go, in my opinion.
And you want the last one here?
Sure. So, Anthony Talcott, a very, very prolific person in our chat room, actually, he asked the question, will you be having a Switch unboxing video for those of us who are ordering on Amazon?
Interesting.
Yeah, so he's requesting a Switch unboxing video.
I've never done an unboxing. I haven't done any videos, actually, by myself.
Yeah, and I do have a tabletop setup where I can record a table with pretty decent quality audio. So if there's a demand for it, we can do it. We have the capability to do so.
Ideally, Nintendo will have some sort of respect for us as journalists here and give us a chance to get our hands on a Switch early in order to do said unboxing and maybe review or something. I don't know. Obviously, that's, again, a dream, but dreams are welcome here. And
Yes, we run on dreams.
oh, man, I so want this to be like our tagline for no reason other than I just love it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But yeah, I would do it, but I think JV definitely has a way better setup. If any of you guys have ever seen, you should check out his Pocket Players Fight channel on YouTube.
Why, thank you.
It's really
I play trading card games.
Yeah, he has these videos of him playing trading card games, and it's a really good setup, and he does some good graphics too. But I think that setup would be perfect for an unboxing video because people can get a great bird's eye view, and they could see your elegant hands,
Oh my!
yes, displaying the product.
My gorgeous little manicured hands. If you guys have the demand for it, just let us know through Twitter, Facebook, email. We'll do it if you guys are interested.
Yeah.
Of course, assuming that we are able to get the Switch in time for launch.
That is the key. Yes, I would.
We will do our best.
Yeah. And the last thing I just want to go. We had one last poll I wanted to mention. I asked you guys, where do you expect to do most of your gaming on the Switch? And more than half of you, 55%, said that you're mostly going to be playing it at home. 37% said it's close to 50-50 split. And only 8% of you looked at it as a mostly away from home object. It's really not looking like the portable aspect is not the prime appeal to most people. It's definitely very strongly looks like people see it as a home console that when the spirit takes me, I will bring it. I was one of the 8% that will probably be playing it mostly away from home.
Of course, because you're that type of mobile gamer.
That's just it. Yeah, when I'm home, there's work to be done. When I'm at work, it's time to start playing.
Future prospective employers of Casey.
But yeah, I only mentioned this because we just had a conversation today talking about the 3DS successor that they mentioned, and if the Switch will be possibly a hindrance to any such successor device. This obviously isn't a huge cross section, but over 100 people voted in here, and it's at least a decent idea that, for people who want to play mostly away from home, a Switch isn't necessarily going to steal that thunder from their
Well,
need.
Casey, This is very unique in recording. Literally about 4 minutes ago, Jimmy Fallon just released a video where he debuted the Nintendo Switch with Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Oh, yes. I heard that he was going on there to show off the Mario Run.
Yes.
Okay.
No, and he debuted the Switch right now.
Wow.
And while we're in the middle of recording, so...
Do you want to, watch this and pause recording and then, continue?
Yes.
All right. So we're back from watching the Jimmy Fallon special Switch demo that he got from Reggie Fils-Aimé on the Late Show with Jimmy Fallon. So what did you think of that whole segment?
Okay, so you can tell from the very beginning that this wasn't just going to be a demo for Super Mario Run.
Right. That is what the guys they came there under.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we're going to show you Super Mario Run. Mm-hmm. But
and it was a cool demo. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for Run. I think I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
Throughout that whole demo, you could tell that Reggie was excited to reveal something more.
Yeah.
He wanted to get through this part because it's his obligation, but something else was going to happen.
I mean, they had Bill Trenton and Shigeru Miyamoto in the audience there, joining in with some commentary.
Yeah, Miyamoto was part of the whole thing. Why would they have him there just for Super Mario Run? But no, it wasn't just for Super Mario Run. It was for the Switch.
Yes. And Jimmy Fallon's enthusiasm could not be more earnest. He kept saying I am geeking out. I am so excited. And I think you mentioned his hands were definitely shaking a little bit as he gripped the Switch in his hands.
Yeah, something like this is a really big deal to anyone who's been a Nintendo fan ever.
Yeah.
His hands were shaking while he was playing the thing. The enthusiasm was palpable. It spread through the video. And it just showcased how, seamless the switch between portable and console really is for it.
Right, because this is the first time we saw it in a live demonstration form. Like, we saw it being played on the screen, and they had a little bit of demo. He ran around a little bit, fought some
goblins, for Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild there, and then he just picked it right out, and there it was, and it was just in his hand, and it looked immaculate on that screen. It didn't lose a beat. It didn't have a loading screen, and it was probably the first time I got a real good sense of the size of it, since it was his hands. He's moving around. I got to watch it from different angles, and we got to see what the screen quality and the backlighting. It's actually the first time I got to have a good sense of what the backlighting on it is. But no, it was a fun reveal. It was just good to see this surprise introduction, I guess, to a lot of people. Because, as popular as the trailer was to us, this is probably the first instance a lot of people are going to be seeing of it. This is where America is really going to learn about its existence, and the hype avalanche just keeps picking up more steam here.
Yeah, and, the game looks gorgeous. We all know that Breath of the Wild will look gorgeous. And while they'd had the Switch hooked up to a projector, it seems, it still looks really good on the Switch. I just liked the enthusiasm, the event, and this is it. This is the media train. People have been wondering if the 3 months is enough time to really hype a system up before its release. And I think this is actually they're going to be able to pull it off. This is actually. It just has to be condensed. It's going to be a big spike in hype, and they're going to do things like this, and they're going to have a lot of events, and they're going to have a lot of coverage, and no one's going to have time to forget about it before they want to buy it. Right, exactly. There's a lot of hype that they're going to build up right now, and before any of that hype dips, it'll be out. So
hype spike.
Yep, exactly. So it's good timing for them, I think.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's also a good time now that it's after Black Friday. All of the Wii U sales are gonna, have already been done, mostly. So, I think it's worth pushing the Nintendo Switch out to the general audience now.
Yeah. You could tell he wanted to try taking the Joy-Cons out of the thing. Like, I love how he just instantly grabbed it. Oh, there's a kickstand on the back of this thing, and he pulls out the kickstand and he puts it down. And it looked like he was going to try to take the Joy-Cons out, but he didn't know exactly how to dislodge them without breaking it on stage. So
he
just kind of put it down.
You could tell that he definitely wanted to explore this thing more than he was given time to.
Right.
But, if I was in his shoes, I'd probably be reacting about the same way.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. So just a fun little thing to happen right as we are recording this episode here. So I think that's a great note to end the show on here, and hope all more excitement just builds in the weeks to come there.
Exactly. It definitely makes us want to be a part of that special event on January 12th and 13th.
Yes, very much so. So, and if you guys want to join in the hype with us, you are more than welcome to join us on our Facebook group, which is the SwitchCast. We also have @the SwitchCast on Twitter. We're very active there, and a lot of people talking. Of course, we welcome iTunes reviews. They really help spread the word of what we're doing and gets us into more people's podcast lists when we get more ratings there. And you can join our Discord chat, which we'll have a link to that in the show notes. That's the easiest way. Just, you'll find a link and you can join the chat anytime. Just a fun place to hang out with us all.
Yep, that sounds good.
Yeah, and email me again at Casey@theswitchcast. So until next time, everybody,
switch it up.